I'm Rochelle Gold, president of the Chicago Jewish Historical Society, and I am excited about this program for two reasons. One is that I've been a volunteer at the ARC as a psychologist, a professional volunteer for more than 20 years. And I've been involved with the Chicago Jewish Historical Society for about the same amount of time. And for the last several years, rose up to be president. First, I want to know how many members of the Chicago Jewish Historical Society are here. Okay, we have a good representation. For those of you who aren't members, I want to tell you briefly about us. We were founded in 1977 after the U.S. bicentennial. There was an exhibit about the Chicago Jewish community at the Museum of Science and Industry, and the organizers of the exhibit said, "We put all this work together and we know so much about our community, let's keep it going." So they formed the society. And our purpose is to discover, document, and share the history of the Chicago Jewish community. And we do that by publishing a journal, a quarterly journal. We have some samples of recent journals from the last year in the lobby area, which you could take a look at on your way out. And all the journal, is available for reading on our website. All the journals are archived. But if you join the society, we are a membership organization, you get a subscription to the journal and you'll get a paper copy. The other thing we do, a prominent activity, is schedule public programs like this. And we host them all over the community on all kinds of topics, very broad-ranging topics. We do several a year, between 5 and 6 a year. Some of them are live, some of them are Zoom. We also have an oral history project. We have collected oral histories, and we're in the process of, we just digitized them, and soon we're going to make them available for public information, public access. We also try to encourage young people to become involved and do research on Chicago Jewish history. We sponsor a fellowship for a college or graduate student, the Dr. Irving Cutler Chicago Jewish History Fellowship. Many of you know Dr. Cutler. How many know about Dr. Cutler? Yes, Dr. Cutler's daughter is here. I hope I'm not embarrassing her by mentioning that. There she is. We also sponsor an award to a high school student at the Metro History Fair, which is organized by the Chicago History Museum every spring. So I'm going to now introduce you to the person who will be proceeding, and that's Marna Goldwyn, who is the CEO of the ARC. And prior to joining the ARC, Marna served as Chief Advancement Officer for the Bernard Zell Anshe Emmett Day School. And before that, she served as Senior Vice President at LaSalle Bank and the Bank of America. Marna is a native of Chicago. She has a BA in History and Jewish Studies from the University of Pennsylvania and an MBA in Management and Marketing from Northwestern University, and an MA in Jewish Professional Studies from the Spertus Institute. And in addition to serving this institution, Marna is active in the Jewish community in other ways. She has held leadership positions in the federations, the Jewish JUF's Young Leadership Division, and the Young Women's City Council. So after the program, there's going to be the panel program, there's going to be a Q&A, and then a tour of the ARC. And if you haven't seen the exhibits, make sure you take a look at them. And then hopefully there'll be some time for us to socialize and talk afterwards too.
Thank you, Rochelle. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the ARC, and welcome back to many familiar faces as well. It's really an honor to be partnering on this program today because the ARC has such a rich history in Chicago's community, but to be partnering with a group of people who really understand how stories shape communities and how values that are carried across generations become the backbone of institutions like ours. I am, as Rochelle said, I'm a fifth-generation Chicagoan and the daughter of a supporter of the Chicago Jewish Historical Society. So I remember seeing the journals on my dad's desk for many years, and I actually remember meeting Irving Cutler many times. He was a dear friend of our extended family. So it's really an honor to have you here today. We here say at the ARC that we are anchored in empathy and powered by community. And the ARC was founded by the community and for the community. And those of us who work here and in our Northbrook location, both as volunteers as well as professionals, we stand on the shoulders of incredibly dedicated, innovative, and talented volunteers and professionals, some of whom are with us today. But it's the collective group of stakeholders in the ARC who built a foundation that now propels us forward in our mission, which is to help every Jew in the Chicagoland area take steps forward on their unique path to self-reliance. And since we are gathered here to learn about the ARC's history, I want to take one moment from Jewish tradition to go back to our long-term history about what inspires us. So this Shabbat, we will be reading Parsha Vayeshev. That's the beginning of Joseph's story. But later in the story, Joseph's brothers admit that they are being punished on account of our brother because we looked on at his anguish, yet paid no heed as he pleaded with us. This is why this distress has come upon us. So the failure of Joseph's brothers was not just in harming Joseph, but it was ignoring a human cry. And for Jewish tradition, this was a moral turning point. We cannot be indifferent to another's pain. Empathy is crucial for healing relationships, but also for spiritual growth. And when we lack compassion, we are, in a sense, inflicting harm. And this is the insight that's at the heart of the chesed that inspired the ARC, our value of kindness. Our founders understood this deeply. When Jewish families faced poverty, isolation, illness, the goal of our founders was not only to address the economic vulnerability and the cries that were right in front of them, but in doing so, ensure that the community would come together to heal and to not ignore the plight of its brothers and sisters. And it was from those simple acts of chesed that we will learn about today that a full organization flourished. So now we look back over the last 54 years, the ARC has grown to provide not only health care, but dental care, medication, food, shelter, community, spiritual enrichment, financial counseling, employment support, mental health navigation, and so much more. But at its core, our approach has never been transactional. What distinguishes the ARC is that we are grounded in dignity. A partnership is formed with our clients, and we work diligently to cultivate a true relationship. So today, the needs of our community remain urgent. Today, it is 1 out of every 5 Jewish households in the Chicagoland area that is struggling to make ends meet. Nearly 90% of the ARC's clients live at or below 200% of the federal poverty level. So that is a family of 4 that is earning about $65,000 a year. We all know how hard it is to make ends meet with the rising cost of living. We are here to help support people and navigate those times. Today we have over 3,200 people who rely on our pantries for food assistance and for household stability. We have over 5,200 Jews across the Chicagoland area and 150 zip codes that turn to us for help. And we do know that there are thousands more who would benefit from working with us, from coming to the ARC, and we are here to take them in and reach them. So since we've been in this facility, we've seen already a 20% growth in the number of clients who are turning to the ARC. We also know that looming changes in our government safety net programs are pushing more and more responsibility to the ARC and our partner agencies. We will continue to meet those challenges because of our supporters who give generously, our volunteers who dedicate their time and talents, and our professionals who bring unrivaled expertise and compassion. And when all of our stakeholders come together, we will ensure that the founding values of the ARC remain our living values. So for more than half a century, we have cultivated a community where we do not look away, where we respond and we uplift. And that is the living legacy of Joseph's Brothers. So now as we turn to more recent history, I want you to take a moment and look at the materials that were on your chair. Inside, you will find a timeline of the ARC's history, but you will also find a note card inside. And I encourage you to take a minute to share a personal memory, a historical memory. When did you first learn about the ARC? What did you think of when you used to hear about the ARC? And we're going to add these memories to the ones that were provided for those who offered them during registration. So before we dig into our program, I want to take 1 minute to share some special thanks. First, I would like to thank Cheryl Davis, who is in the back, our Director of Marketing. Cheryl has organized today's program, but Cheryl shares a deep passion for history, and she has brought both the passion for history and her care for the mission of the ARC to everything that she does, but particularly into making today possible. So thank you, Cheryl. Rochelle, you are a breath of sunshine every time you walk in on a Tuesday morning. Your kindness has been so helpful to our clients, our staff, and our interns who you've really cultivated over many years. And we're very grateful for what you do for the ARC, but for also bringing us this program today and making this possible. And Nathan Block, who I will want to introduce, who will be leading our panelists this morning. Nathan will be moderating our panel. Nathan served on the ARC's board for almost 3 decades, and it was from 1984 until 2012. So he has some special insights into the history of the ARC, and also served as president from 2000 to 2002. Nathan now is on our board of trustees and has been an active member chairing our development committee, being a part of our ARC at 50 committee, our strategic plan task force. But Nathan embodies the spirit of the ARC and has been a great trusted advisor to me and is a true mensch. So thank you, Nathan, for your work today. So I want to now introduce Nathan, who will lead us in a thoughtful conversation about the ARC and the values that we hold dear. And I hope you will take time, if you have not yet seen this facility after the program. I encourage you, we will make it an efficient tour. I know some people need to get out for a 3:25 kickoff, so we will do everything we can to meet your personal needs of this Sunday afternoon.
Well, now we know what's really important. You know, I'm always been proud and humbled to be a part of this wonderful organization, but as I hear Marna review the things that we do here, it just makes my chest puff out a little bit more. I'm very honored to share the hot seat this morning with an impressive and impactful ARC leaders. Alan Ray has been a longtime board member of the ARC. He was here since basically its inception, so if I know a little, Alan knows a lot. Alan was the board president from 1986 to 1988, and he's been a mentor and an inspiration to me. Mimi Selesky is a registered nurse and a master's in public health. She is the clinic manager in the ARC's medical clinic and has been leading that organization for the last 20 years. Mimi really embodies the spirit of the ARC with her caring and committed work. Mimi worked very closely with one of the founders who you'll hear more about this morning, Dr. Benjamin Sokol. Dr. Sokol was really the soul of the ARC, and we're very proud to share our legacy and memories of him this morning. And what Marna failed to say about herself is that this month she is celebrating her 5th year anniversary as CEO of the ARC. And today, wow, all right. So as Marna said, I've been on the board of the ARC for a few years. Each one of us has seen the ARC through over 50 years of evolution. And we're going to take a little time machine back to the 1970s. That was a period of time in Chicago, in the United States, maybe in the entire world. There were very turbulent social times. It was a time when the United States was winding up the Vietnam War. There was a lot of unrest on campus, a lot of protesting. Youth activism was very prevalent. And here in Chicago, two young idealistic visionaries, Dr. Benjamin Sokol and Rabbi Yehoshua Eichenstein, saw an opportunity to harness this energy. And they asked themselves the question, could they redirect this enthusiasm to create a vehicle for Jews to serve the Jewish poor and elderly? Could they turn that to the ethics of the Torah instead of the ethics of Marx? And could young Jews reestablish connection to their Jewish identity? And that really was the founding idea of this organization. Very quickly, word spread of this endeavor. A lot of caring volunteers came and helped establish a free medical clinic in the Lawrence Albany Park neighborhood. The ARC was launched with a very appropriate mission to be the Torah's vehicle for sustaining individuals in a period of crisis. And now they were in business. And the fundamental purpose was, number one, to deliver the highest quality medical and social welfare and similar services to any human being. Number two, to be a modality for Jews to give tzedakah and to perform mitzvot through services. And to me, this is a most unique thing about the ARC, and it was really the thing that attracted me to the organization at the very beginning. The idea that there was something other than checkbook charity, that instead of just writing a check and sending it off to an organization that was going to do the chesed, that you yourself could get personally involved in the day-to-day hands-on chesed, and that was something that really spoke to me. And the third element of the ARC is that we would behave, we would conduct all of our activities in accordance with Jewish law and practice. And one of the highlights of this, of course, is respect for the individual, that we would ensure confidentiality for our clients and for their needs, and that we would make sure that no one felt themselves to be a second-class citizen because they were coming to the ARC for services. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. When I joined the ARC, it was well established. And so, Alan, you were there from the very beginning. Would you talk a little bit about how you got involved and tell us a little bit about your perspectives of Rabbi Sokol, Dr. Sokol and Rabbi Eichenstein, whom you knew very personally?
I was a new young lawyer, and I became involved with the ARC in 1971. I was asked to get involved by a friend of mine, and I hadn't a clue about what I was really getting involved in. Probably one of the most eye-opening experiences of my entire life, particularly with regard to the people I became associated with, particular Rabbi Eichenstein, Dr. Sokol, and most interestingly enough, a broad spectrum of community in the entire Chicago area. We had people of all sorts of hashkafot and came at Judaism in a variety of different ways. And to see that group of people come together was life-altering for me. My eyes were opened. I became really a different person as a result of my experiences with the ARC. What was the last part of your question?
Shared a lot of the early years, so
Great.
thank you for that. Could you explain, Mimi, you've told me that you came to the ARC in part or largely because of Dr. Sokol personally. Could you explain a little bit about who he was and really what was unique about him that shaped your decision and your commitment?
It's very hard to describe Dr. Sokol as his children attempted to do. So the only way I know how to describe him is to tell you a story. So Dr. Sokol was going through one of his clinics, which was the entire day on Tuesday from, I guess, 8:30 till I don't even know what time it would end. And a patient walked in a mental health crisis. And at the time, a mental health crisis of that sort meant hospitalization right away. And so that's what we were proceeding to figure out how to get this patient to care. Dr. Sokol knew a doctor down at County, and he said, we need to take this guy to County, and that's where he needs to get care. So great, how are we going to get him to County? And Dr. Sokol looked at me and said, I'm going to drive him. And I said, Dr. Sokol, not a good idea. We're not covered for that on insurance, and it's not a good idea for a doctor to drive a patient when they're in distress. And every reason I can think of why he shouldn't drive this patient. Meanwhile, he said, I'm going to finish my clinic, and this guy's hungry, so I brought him down lunch. And right after that, he looked at me and said, okay, now I'm going to drive him to the hospital. And I just gave him a look, and he said, do you want to come? And I said, I'll get my purse. So we get down to the hospital, and it's Cook County, and it's a whole thing to get down there. And meanwhile, the patient is getting more and more stressed. And as things turn out, the patient the entire lunch I fed him ended up all over his shirt sometime during that drive. And we get to the hospital, and Dr. Sokol and the patient disappear, and they come back out of wherever they disappeared to, and I see a patient wearing a nice white shirt and a pair of pants and holding a bag, and Dr. Sokol in a hat, his tzitzis, an undershirt, and his jacket, and holding his jacket closed. And I looked at him and he said, we have to clean him up. Okay. So he and the patient walked over to the charge nurse and who was expecting them, looks them over for a few minutes and says, okay, y'all, now you got to tell me which one's the patient and which one's the doctor. And that's Dr. Sokol. That was the best story I knew about him, because that just tells you he was willing to just do what he had to do.
Literally give the shirt
on
off
his
his
back,
back. That is fabulous. And Dr. Sokol was associated with the ARC for many, many years, never taking a kavod position, but always being there as the silent, calm, thoughtful, spiritual voice of the ARC. Mimi, volunteerism has always been a core within the ARC. It's for its DNA and its purpose, and you manage many volunteers in the medical clinic. Could you talk a little bit about how the Jewish values of chesed and mitzvot drove these busy professionals to donate their time to the ARC and to the clinic?
I'm not sure what brings a doctor to the ARC. It's many different reasons that they come, but I know that when they come with all their reasons, they come with good intentions and all good things in their mind. And once they have that, they start to work with the patients. And I know within 6 weeks, the doctor is a different doctor than he was when he walked in first. It's something about the ARC and the patients, and your mind slows down and you start to listen to the heart of the patient and not just to what's going on in their medical stuff. And every single doctor that I've worked with, that has happened to all of them. So they might need to fix the diabetes of a patient, but they will always work with the heart of the patient because that's what the patient wants to tell them. So I did notice that. So how they get here to begin with, I think they consider it an honor, and actually I consider it an honor to have these amazing doctors among us. So I guess it makes everybody happy.
That's great. So I mentioned that the ARC's first facility was on Lawrence Avenue in Albany Park. And at some point, the ARC made the decision to move to Devon near Western. Alan, I know that you were around and involved very much at that time. Can you talk about what drove the decision and what were some of the internal struggles about to move or not to move?
What drove the decision was the need. And the more we became, none of us were all that sophisticated about it in the beginning. We may have had good intentions, but we weren't the brightest lights in the firmament in the beginning. But we had the energy. And we went where the clients were. Albany Park, where the ARC started, was what was at that time in the early 70s was the place where poor Jews who couldn't leave Albany Park remained, and we put ourselves there at that time. The Jews migrated. We more or less seat of the pants determined that in the Devon areas where the Jews really were, it's too hard for them to get to us, so it was up to us to get to them. That was a major driver of that.
Was there something holding you back? Was there some reason that there was a population that you didn't want to leave behind?
Well, yes, there was. And the part of the process of moving to Devon was to make sure that we, as best we could, kept the people in Albany Park, took care of them. We arranged transportation. We did all sorts of things to make sure that we didn't want those people to feel abandoned. And there were really significant needs, maybe more needs as the community migrated, but we weren't going to leave anybody behind.
Great. So the ARC had a facility called the Spalding Center, which was a day program that operated in that neighborhood on weekdays, maybe even on Sunday, while the main ARC had moved. And in that facility, there were day programs, there were meals, there was a social work, I believe, all the time. So great.
And there was ARC staff. It just wasn't a store people could walk in.
Right.
There was staff to work
right.
in Spalding.
Right. Volunteerism takes a lot of formats in the ARC. Mimi described a very professional aspect. I'll describe a very grassroots aspect. In that Spalding Center, when my son and my daughter were 8 and 10 years old, they needed to do a piano recital. I think they were learning chopsticks at the time. They got their friends together and they put on a recital for the clients in the Spalding Center. There were probably 15 8 and 10-year-olds and their parents. It was an opportunity for these young people to get their first taste of volunteerism. It was a nice opportunity for the clients to see young people and hear an entertainment program, I suppose. But anyway, that is really, I think, who the ARC has always been. It's volunteers who come with whatever capability, whatever donated services they can, whether they're high-level professionals or whether they might be children. And that continues to this day. It's a very homespun, warm, and personal way of volunteering. The other things that the ARC has done in a volunteer aspect are food baskets, our food pantry, our free pharmacy, telecare visits to homebound clients, and food drives. All of these things were really driven by volunteers. I think the first professional staff that the ARC ever hired were social workers to do the case management, but every other function was really a volunteer function, including, by the way, our pharmacy on Devon Avenue, which was basically a closet that had been converted with shelves, and we had 2 retired pharmacists who were dispensing the drugs under doctor orders. But it came a time when we realized that maybe this wasn't the safest, best way to deliver health care. And so we made a decision to hire a paid pharmacist, and that tradition continues in this building, and I'm proud to say the pharmacy is no longer a closet, but it's really quite impressive. You'll see it on your tour. And from there, the ARC continued to expand professional services, including dental and medical, vision care, the food pantry. Many of these are overseen by paid professionals. And if you think about it, the world has changed from the 1970s. It's a much more litigious environment where we have to make sure that the services we offer are not only top quality and with a heart and a soul, but that they also fulfill all of our legal obligations. So I'll skip ahead a little bit to the decade of the 90s. Alan, once again, we had outgrown our building on Devon Avenue, and the ARC started looking for a new facility. And we were fortunate to find a building at 6450 North California. Could you tell us a little bit about how that building came to be, maybe a little bit about the donor, et cetera.
I have 2 words. Hashem provides. End of the conversation. We were bursting at the seams, and unfortunately, we had extraordinary numbers of people to take care of. And the Persky building, that's was what you're talking about, the Persky building materialized out of the blue. Mr. Persky came to the Ark and said he was interested in doing something, and back and forth, and we, with his assistance, overwhelming assistance, purchased the Persky building. And it was needed. I think it was outdated almost from the time we opened it, because that's the need. And that's the need. And we were able to provide all the services that you mentioned and found new ones when we had a place to do those things. It was a once in a lifetime. Thing that happened to us at the Ark. It happened in the late 80s, early 90s. One of the last things that I was involved with, and it was just amazing. It was absolutely amazing.
For those of you who don't know the name Seymour Persky, 2 things I remember about him. One is that he grew up in a very poor household on the old west side. He often didn't have a coat to wear in the middle of the winter, and even as an adult, I would see him walking around downtown Chicago at the most frigid temperatures, and he wouldn't be wearing an overcoat. And the second thing I remember was that he came to the Ark because he was anticipating a major surgery, and he wanted to make sure that that surgery went well, and he was looking for a destination for a donation that would have meaning. And he found the Ark, we found Mr. Persky, and the rest is history. So Mimi, what did this move to a new building that was 4 times the size of our old building? This building had internal staircases, where the other one you had to go outside and down the block to go up to the second floor. We were on 2 bus lines. We had a pharmacy that was really kind of a nice, presentable pharmacy. What did this all mean to the clients and to the volunteers?
When I walked into this building and people asked me, what do you think Dr. Sokol would have thought of this building? And I thought that he would love this building. Anything that gave people a feeling of being important would make him happy. And that if you could bring somebody who is just struggling and they come into a building and it's nice and it's clean and it has a beautiful pantry and it has a beautiful dental care facility and it has beautiful things in it that for them, they would feel better coming here, and that it would open the Ark to people who felt uncomfortable in the squishy Persky building with really terrible plumbing. So I thought it would change the way the Ark looked to the community, and it looks to ourselves too, because it's a beautiful place. It does what we need it to do, even if we're outgrowing it already. But that's what as I walked in, that's the first thing I thought, is that he would be happy and he would love this place, because it would give people a really good feeling when they came in, because it gave me a good feeling when I came in. It's like beautiful. It's nice.
Great. So around 2010, the Ark was hearing rumblings that there were clients in the northwest suburbs, Arlington Heights, Glenview, Northbrook, who really needed Ark services, but our building here on Devon in California was just not convenient for them to access. And so we undertook a study to determine whether, in fact, that was true and what would be the best place for us to establish an outpost. And in 2011, the Ark did establish its first outpost. It still continues to operate to this day in Northbrook. We started maybe 2 or 3 days a week. We now operate 5 days a week, and it is bursting at the seams. It has intake professionals, social workers, as well as a full-service pantry. And I think that was one of the, it wasn't a surprise per se, but it was one of the eye-openers, how many clients there were who you would think live in a affluent suburb who are really in need of food and assistance. And so the ARC took that bold step, and we opened this satellite facility. So today, we're sitting in the ARC's beautiful, renovated, expanded space, and I have to admit that I pinch myself every time I come into this building. We were hoping to have one of our board members, Alan Malmud, and his wife Missy here this morning. Unfortunately, both of them are under the weather. But I did want to mention them specifically because they spearheaded a development effort to raise the funds for the building that you see today. But in their absence, I'm going to ask Marna to talk a little bit about this decision to undertake probably the biggest physical expansion of the ARC. Why was it needed? Why did we stay here in this location? What were some of the goals, and how did the ARC make this happen?
Well, I think, as Mimi alluded to, it was desperately needed that we create an environment that would allow us to really meet the need, both from a size and a scale, but with spaces that were intentionally designed for what we were trying to do to help our clients. And so we were bursting at the seams in the old building, but it was also not a space that provided the level of dignity, of confidentiality. For those of you who may have remembered walking into the lobby, it also functioned as a food pantry overflow space. It functioned as our Cafe Arc space. It functioned as a reception area. It functioned as security. I mean, we were doing it all, and the staff was getting incredibly creative, but creativity had its limits within those walls. And so with the vision of the board and the generosity of the community, we were able to design this incredible facility with the driving force of, one, making sure everyone who comes through this space feels that sense of hope. When you're in the atrium, look up, look towards a brighter and better future ahead. That is what the ARC provides for our clients, and we wanted everyone to feel that way when they were coming here. But we were also able to design spaces with intentionality so that we could really maximize the impact of our services across the building. And then we wanted a place that we could grow, because we know that there are growing needs. We know there are thousands more who are going to depend on the ARC, and this facility gives us that platform to expand and serve more clients as we go forward. And we're in the midst of an ambitious strategic plan. We're already serving 5,200 people, and over the next few years, we're going to see that grow and grow, but continue to keep the heart of the dignity and the relationships and the compassion that have been a part of every facility that the ARC has been in.
So Marta, if I can put you on the spot, what is your favorite place in this new building?
Honestly, there's not one spot. I love walking in the door every day. To see a space that's filled with light and hope, it's the feel you get. It has nothing to do with the physicality. It's how you feel when you come in here. And it's how the people are, and that's what the ARC is about. It's about the people. It's about the professionalism of the staff, the kindness of the volunteers. It's a community.
It's easy to tell a story, to tell the history of the ARC using bricks and mortar, but I want to make sure that we also pivot to some of the services and the evolution of those services. So we talked about how the ARC started with a medical clinic taking care of physical health, and the pharmacy, a food pantry. But eventually the ARC also expanded into dental care, both a dental operatory and a dental lab for making prostheses. We expanded into a vision clinic. At one point, we recognized that the cycle of hospitalization for psychiatric and mental health was a problem, and so the ARC undertook a mental health initiative, which continues also to this day. And all of this is connected through not only our clinic managers, but also our social worker/case managers who see and intake every single client who comes into the ARC. Mimi, I want to ask you, what are some of your observations about the expansion of the ARC's services? How has that impacted the quality of care that we can provide to ARC clients?
I think we do the best we can with what we have. So the pantry, for example, can do amazing things. They can just do it. we have more volunteers or we need more volunteers, the supervisor of the pantry calls up volunteers and they come because they know we need them and they help out. We're always thinking like, what's going to happen ahead? Is Medicaid all these people are going to drop out of Medicaid? Are we going to have, we're always one step ahead trying to think and trying to imagine how we're going to manage the next crisis. So we're always trying to be one step ahead of the crisis so that we don't get inundated, so that we're prepared for this, so that we can train volunteers or get whatever that we need to have to get there. So we're working. But that's how you have to think here. Thank God for public health, because that's how I think. But you're always thinking, what's going to be tomorrow, and how can we help the clients tomorrow as we're doing today? And I think we can. I think that we just continue as we do, and we get more, or we figure out the next plan. There's always plan A, and always plan B, and always plan C. And sometimes we get to plan, I don't know, F, D, G, H, and all the way down there, but we always are figuring out the plan.
So it sounds like there's a constant evolution in ARC services. And one that I think about often is our transitional residence. So in the early 80s, the ARC opened a transitional residence. That's a nice term for a shelter for those who are unhoused. It operated in East Rogers Park in a building that we had several individual apartments. Eventually, we outgrew that space, and very appropriately, we moved into a vacated convent facility on Fairfield, just south of Devon. You know, a convent is a series of little cubicle rooms, and that was just perfect for our clients. And we were there for a number of years. And then a building became available just north of the ARC on California. And there was a very generous family which donated the funds to operate that as the Sarnoff Levin facility, which we did for probably another decade. But COVID happened. And COVID was not friendly to communal living. So unfortunately, the facility needed to close. And it gave the opportunity to pause to think about whether that building was really the appropriate format for the current concept of helping those who are homeless. And we developed really a new philosophy of how we wanted to help our clients. Do you want to describe a little bit about the housing program, just to give a flavor for why it's different than the way ARC used to operate in the past?
And I have to give a shout out to Eva Gertzfeld, who is sitting here, who spent so many days helping thousands of clients who lived and came through the transitional residence and continues to help our clients navigate some of the most difficult housing challenges. So for anyone who's not as familiar, housing is probably the biggest pain point that the ARC's clients deal with. I mean, it's at our core, and we want every Jew to have a safe place to sleep in this community, and there is not enough housing to meet their needs. And we also want to keep people connected to a Jewish community. And so the ARC's housing program has really evolved and expanded, whereas we are here for clients who are in a moment of crisis. So if they do come to us unhoused without a place to live, we are finding solutions to meet that need. So different from putting them in our own residence, we're finding crisis housing, but we've really looked to be more proactive and ensure we can keep people housed through the ARC's housing assistance, and that we can help them navigate alternative housing options. So we believe in rapid rehousing. We want to make sure people are placed, but we want to keep people in their homes. So we provide over $1 million in financial assistance that goes towards housing and related needs. But truly what we have is a team of housing navigators. And so we have people who are creating and running housing programs and working individually with clients to help them in the right housing solution. And that may be making sure they have financial assistance to stay. It may be helping them find alternative housing arrangements. And some of those housing arrangements we have donated to us through the community as well. But it's become a much more comprehensive program with many more variations so that we can serve the hundreds and hundreds of clients who need the ARC for housing assistance.
So I think we're getting close to the end of our time slot. I wanted to make sure to give an opportunity if there's questions from the audience that people have a chance to ask them.
I'll just identify myself. I'm Norm Lewis, and I'm a hospital chaplain and a rabbi. And what I'm interested in, I worked through the Chicago Board of Rabbis for a long time and had some things to do with the Ark. And I'd like to know the relationship between the Ark and JUF Federation.
So for many of you may know that the Federation gave a seed grant to the ARC during our initial founding. So the Federation, I think it was 1971, gave a $20,000 grant to help launch the ARC. And we continue to be a grantee of the Federation. So we are a beneficiary. They today contribute about 4% of our operating budget. So we're very grateful for that significant support that we receive, but we are a grantee. Some people may think that we are a Federation agency. We are one of the many organizations that they provide grants to through an annual allocation. But in addition, they're a great partner for us in the community. They have introduced a lot of donors to the ARC over the years, including those who helped make this facility possible. And they're great partners for tremendous resources, whether it comes to security, whether it comes to helping navigate the nonprofit security grant program. So we partner with Federation in a lot of different ways.
Do you see changes in the needy people have used the ARC over the years, have received services, but what have you seen in the evolution of the kinds of people who come into the ARC in the almost 50 years, more than 50 years, because our communities have changed, our social world has changed. So what's different now compared to 20 years ago, 40, 50 years ago?
Do you want to start?
I've only been here professionally for 5 years, although a long-time volunteer, so I'm going to pass it down. But what I will say is a lot of people assume that the ARC was created to serve the Russian community or a more elderly community. I want to just say that today, a quarter of our clients are actually under the age of 18. So they come from families today where we have a lot of children who we're providing service to through their household, and we've created programs to support the children in the household as well. We also have about 48% of our clients have a college degree or greater. People often don't have a sense for why people might be coming to the ARC. They think that the ARC serves people living with chronic poverty, and the majority of our clients are actually navigating a situational challenge that they've created. So there's a lot of misperceptions that people have, but that doesn't speak to how it's changed.
Mimi, have you seen changes in the medical clinic?
Sure. When I first started here, by the way, Alan Melma hired me, but we first came, it was a lot of Russian. Now there's a lot less Russian speaking, but Russian speakers still feel very comfortable in our medical clinic because my staff is bilingual. So we still have a good percentage of that, but not only. And ages have definitely changed, and I also think the neighborhood around us has changed. So whereas it was a certain type of community, West Rogers Park was one type of community, now it's becoming actually something a little different, and there's people with other needs in different kinds of poverty, many more children than there were when I remember this neighborhood. So it's a different neighborhood. So we change with the changing of what's going on around us too. So we have to change with that.
I just wanted to make one interesting observation. I was certainly here during that period where the iron gates of the Soviet Union opened, and we had many, many Russian emigres who needed our help. And today we have at least one and maybe more descendants, children of those Russians whom we helped, who are now on our board. There are many who are donors giving back to the community, and that volunteers, it really warms my heart.
Anyone else?
Joel.
Joel Rubin, I'm on the board of the society, so thank you so much for this great panel. 2025 has not been a kind year to the not-for-profit community, the social service community in general. And so I just was wondering, and Mimi, right, mentioned, well, the ARC always finds a way, and we always find a way. There's been some real challenging pieces especially the past couple of months. You know, the crisis around SNAP benefits and how that impacts the pantry. So I don't know who on the panel can address that, because unfortunately, I don't think we're gonna, I'd like to say 2026 will be a kinder year, but how is the ARC, and I'm sure that the board grapples with this as well, approaching this?
It's a very timely question, and it's something we're tackling. I mean, the ARC, as well as multitudes of social service agencies, were created to complement a government safety net. And our services have never been intended to replace government safety net programs. So when we take something like the SNAP crisis that we are navigating, 70% of the people who use the ARC's pantries also rely on SNAP benefits for food assistance. When SNAP goes away, the ARC has to step in. So we are grateful to have a really generous community that has helped us meet this moment, and we've had incredibly agile staff and volunteers who came together to create emergency food packages during the month of November. But that's just one piece of what we know is going to be a long-term challenge. So we are in the process of evaluating services like our food security programs. How can we do more to help people as they navigate what's about to happen with the SNAP changes? How are we going to help people as they have to navigate the changes in Medicaid? I mean, it's an incredible challenge. We cannot replace the government. We will do everything we can to expand our services where we can, but we also see partner agencies who are not able to sustain themselves because they're relying on government funding that is getting pulled during this time. And we're living in a state that's, we're fortunate Illinois is going to try to step up, but Illinois is not built to take on the pressures and the impact that the federal government is pushing their way. So I wish I had a more optimistic answer, except to say we're lucky for the ARC's funding model that it is 100% powered by philanthropy, so we are not at risk of losing our funding sources, but we have to navigate and do everything we can with the limited resources we have.
Anyone else got another? How are we doing on time? We're doing all right. We have another few minutes. We also have a number of current volunteers and former staff members. I saw Phil's hand up a minute ago. Phil, will you tell us the role you had in the drop-in center?
Well, I was just dropped in there. Kind of as a young, unknowing kind of person. I had come the prior year as a Spartus student in the master's program. I was placed at the ARC on Lawrence Avenue, and Ari Gelman was the director at the time. And when it came time to move and we were growing and the population changed more to the Rogers Park area, they needed someone. They felt there was this crew of elderly people who had been coming there. This was like their home and their community, and you'll see some of that going on here in a different kind of way. But they were isolated. They didn't have a lot of money, and this is where they connected. You heard a lot of Yiddish, which I don't speak. Picked up a few words at the time.
And we had social programming, sometimes entertainment, as Nathan was saying. Um, and but it kept a place where they wouldn't have to travel for that small group of people that stayed open for, I can't remember, 2-3 years. I was there the first year and then moved to Devon the year after that. So,
And Ruth, we thank, who's in our pantry every single day. Do you want to say anything? Anybody else? 4 days a week sounds like a full week, knowing what each day looks like. Anyone else with questions? Sure. Please. Yes.
I'm Gene Levy, the donator to the ARC. And I'm wondering, I notice around the community, there are other organizations that are doing similar things. And I'm just wondering how y'all coordinate with each other. I'm thinking specifically about Moed Team or CMC and other such Jewish organizations.
Yeah, we are really grateful to be part of a true network across the Chicagoland area. We have great partners, and our goal is that we're truly complementing each other's services. So someone like Ma'od Team generously takes the ARC's clients and distributes on Rosh Hashanah and Passover. So we don't do our meal delivery programs for those holidays because Ma'od Team is stepping in and doing that, and yet we will provide meals on Purim and Thanksgiving and other holidays and year-round, and we'll encourage Ma'od Team to send clients our way and encourage people who are receiving to come to the ARC. Similar with CMC, we have clients who are participating in CMC programs on a daily basis, but CMC is not providing the full range of services that the ARC provides. And so we really believe that our clients should maximize the support and the resources available, but we have such great partnerships. I mean, our case managers do an incredible job with each client, but they know what the ARC can provide, and they know where they can refer a client outside the ARC to get the support that they need. So we're really grateful to be part of such a great ecosystem. I don't know if you have any.
I'm Earl Sternfeld, one of the pharmacists here at the ARC. But just to tag on to what Marna was saying, not just the established organizations, but all the synagogues throughout the city and the suburbs coordinate with the ARC. You know, the synagogues that we do, we help with the Matanot Livyonim during Purim. Other ones do the packing for the ARC, and there's various different programs, you know, that the ARC is coordinated with all the synagogues and all the other institutions, you know, that aren't as large as the Ma'od Team or the CMC or the other ones, you know, that are more well known. But it's more of an individual, you know. And I think, you know, getting back to the chesed, you know, getting back to the basics, you know, that's one of the, you know, our tenets, you know, one of the main mitzvot, you know, is, you know, to giving back to the community. And, you know, the ARC is just one facility that, you know, people, you know, everyday people, you know, who are our clients? You know, when people ask me, you know, who are the people at the ARC? Well, I tell them they're everyday people, but they've fallen through the cracks. You know, they've fallen on hard times. You know, they've lost a job, or maybe they, you know, missed the rent payment, and they need help. And the ARC is here to help. And, you know, going back to, you know, the Tanakh, the ARC is the catch-all, you know, the Teva.
Thank you.
For a very long time, people asked me, who comes to the ARC and where do you get these people from? And seriously, I look at them and say, you live in this community. They are our neighbors. They are our friends, our neighbors. It's the people around us. Not everybody walks around in tatters. Most people are pretty organized and put themselves together and go do what they need to do in the community. But inside, they're really suffering. So you have to be that's why the Ark is so quiet, because you want that person to be able to come here and feel safe, and that their secrets will not be shared all over the community, and they're not. It's very safe, and that you can come here and you can lay those packages down on somebody's desk, and they will help you to try to figure out how to get out of it, because then that they're our neighbors. They're everybody around us, and that's in this neighborhood or whatever neighborhood you live in. It's all the same. Last thing I wanted to say about the ARC being one of our big numbers is agility. And when we face problems, I really mean it. We can think ahead, think at that minute, and just be agile if we have to. And we can do that, and we have done it in the past. We did it through a pandemic, and we did it through a fire, and we did it, God knows what we've been through, in just a flood, a few floods, and we've just done it. So we know how to do it, and I remember during the fire, it struck me, wait a minute, we know how to do all of this. We went through a pandemic. We've done all these things before. We'll just use that model and do it again differently. So we can, and we do, because that's who we want to be. That's who we are looking to be, and that's what we try so hard to do.
Any more questions? David?
Hi, I'm David Shapiro. I haven't seen Mimi for a very long time. Hi. So I'm a now retired general surgeon, and I was a volunteer in the ARC clinic from 1986 until about, I would say, 2013. It was swell. So regardless of which facility you were in, it was swell. What made it, if you'll allow me to just talk for a minute, yeah, it was swell precisely because it was staffed with people who were all here and ready to do the right thing, taking care of all kinds of people in all stages of crisis and adversity. And the clinic was, for me, was especially important because it allowed me as a general surgeon to devote some fixed time every week. Actually, I was only here every other week because I had another clinic, excuse me, on the south side doing the same thing. But you could come in and you could be an all things to all people doctor coming in. Anybody who came, you could put your hand out to help them. And that was a very big deal. Most of the time we did a fine job. One of the things that made it very easy back then, okay, before corporate medicine started to take over hospitals in the city, was that the ARC, largely because it was subsidized by the Federation, there were two Jewish hospitals in the city. One was Michael Reese and one was Mount Sinai. And because of that, there was a very easy transfer of people from here to either of those hospitals or to specialists who were based at those hospitals if they needed care beyond the scope of what the clinic could deliver here. And for me, that was particularly nifty because somebody came in with a bellyache and they got shuffled into my clinic, that I could take them down to Michael Reese and take care of them. It was the best, you know. So at some point, Michael Reese failed, and Mount Sinai has not failed, but for the last 40 years, as best I can tell, it's holding on by its fingernails, and they're still doing God's work there, you know. But so. As you'll remember, toward the end of the time that I was here, we were casting about all the time to find people who would take referrals. And one of the most gratifying things was the ability to find a contact on the other side of the firewall at the county hospital. Happened to be my mechutin, but that's, that worked out very well. Who could get people in without having them sit in the emergency room for 2 days there. And looking around at the other hospitals where we were working, there were plenty of Jewish specialists who were committed to the concept, if not the practice, of providing charity care as needed. And so we had an ENT doctor here. I had a gynecologist there. We had mammographers one place or another. I found, and that made it especially gratifying because you could engage a larger part of the Jewish medical community around the city to help. So Michael Reese is gone. I mean, and it's flat, there's nothing there. And I don't know if Mount Sinai is eager to have patients bust over there anymore. And God knows the county hospital continues to be a functional war zone. So I'm curious to know what you're doing for people who need the next level of care.
Nice to see you. It's really nice to see you. It's a challenge. It is so challenging. We still find doctors here and there who will see a patient, but most doctors are now hooking up with these big conglomerates, and it's not their fault that they cannot see a person because they can't. Our people without insurance can't get through the front door of those places. Those staff won't let them even through, even if the doctor agrees. So they don't run the place anymore, so they don't have that option. But we still find a few doctors who run their own practices and still are good seeing our patients, or I don't know how they do it. They just manage to see people. We also have in the last few years, we had a lot of patients on Medicaid. If they were eligible for Medicaid, I begged them to get Medicaid. Their social workers worked with them and got them on Medicaid because their doors were so much more open with Medicaid. I could send a person to the emergency room and not worry they're going to get a $10,000 or $20,000 bill back because Medicaid's going to cover them. So it was much easier. As Medicaid drifts away, we're going to have to come up with Plan C. It is challenging. It's very challenging. So we do the best that we can. Thank God for our pharmacy because that helps us a tremendous amount. And we just, David, we ski. We do moguls. I don't know if any of you are skiers, but moguls are these big bumps. And the bigger the mogul, the more your knees have to bend and you have to kind of just move along. And that's what we do. We just find a way to bend around it and figure out how to get down that mountain.
Yeah, when you mentioned the pharmacy, so thanks to J.B. Pritzker, passed the law a few years back, that the pharmacy is now eligible to receive sealed containers from the manufacturers, not like a bottle that you might find, that you might receive at a pharmacy. If you have a sealed container, we can record those within 6 months. We also have various a program called AmeriCares, which reaches out to organizations like ours, the nonprofits, and weekly our chief pharmacist Howard Warren. As he reviews those, and he says he takes advantage of it and says, hey, we've got people who can use this particular drug, and we'll use it, and they give us they will dispense that to us, but still a majority of them we still have to pay for. We have like 4 different wholesalers, and we try to bargain each one down to the best price. So we use those funds that the pharmacy gets really, and we also get from Walgreens and other ones, other facilities like that will give us overstock that they can't use, and we have an over-the-counter immense over-the-counter section where people who have a referral, they have certain needs for over-the-counter medication. We can provide some of those.
So I want to be mindful of time, and I want to first of all thank our informal panelists, David and Earl and Phil, as well as Alan and Mimi and Marna, and especially to you who came to hear and to see and to experience, and I hope you'll enjoy the tour. It's really a fascinating building, and I encourage you to enjoy the tour. Thank you very much.